Gospel of John, the first chapter, beginning with the first verse. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor a human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, when you're familiar with the Bible and you start a scripture with "in the beginning," what do you think of? Yeah, I know it's in John, but more familiar, it's in Genesis, which makes sense. Genesis is the first book of the Bible. The name Genesis actually means the beginning. John wants us to make that connection when he writes his gospel starting in the beginning. Because John wants his gospel not just to be about the time that Jesus spent on earth, but he wants to talk about who Jesus is for eternity. And that eternity doesn't just mean after Easter. It means the time before Christmas. John is talking about Jesus as the second person of the Trinity. Now, I know we don't talk a lot about the Trinity, and I don't preach about the Trinity a lot, because people don't understand it. And it's difficult for scholars to understand it, so don't feel bad if you don't understand it. It's one of those things that is not supposed to be easy to understand. It's a paradox. It doesn't make literal sense. But John is wanting it to be clear to his readers that Jesus is eternal, that Jesus is God, and that Jesus existed from the beginning. And John calls Jesus the Word. Now, John is the only writer in Scripture who calls Jesus the Word. He does it in the Gospel, he does it in the letter of 1 John, but he's the only one who uses just that one word, to mean Jesus. So why would John pick this description for Jesus? Well, let's go back to in the beginning. And when John says all things were made through him. Okay, let's think about the story of creation as we find it in the Bible. How is creation made? Most of creation is made by God speaking. God says a word. God says, let there be light. Now I know you could say, wait a minute, that's 5 words, or 4 words, but in Hebrew it's 1 word. Let there be is combined with light as 1 verb. God says a word. The word is the creative principle, the creative part of God. And John wants his readers to understand this. Now, once his readers begin to associate the Word with God, they may think of other times that is found in Scriptures. And there are many times it's found in Scripture. One of the most important is in the books of Moses, the first 5 books of the Bible. Specifically, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Whenever the word is used there, and it's usually the word of the Lord, it refers to the law. The words that God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, the 10 Commandments, and then all of the other laws that follow from them. These are the word of the Lord. And it's very interesting they chose to use it as singular, not plural. These are not the words of the Lord. This is the word of the Lord. It's unified. We go on a little farther in the Bible and we get to Samuel, the first of the great prophets. And what does Samuel say when he's making his prophecies? What does the book say? It says, the word of the Lord came to Samuel. Samuel, as a prophet, is followed by Nathan. And we read, when Nathan has a prophecy, it says, the word of the Lord came to Nathan. Nathan is followed by Elijah and Elisha. And guess what it says? I bet you can guess what it says when Elijah or Elisha gets a prophecy. The word of the Lord came to Elijah. The word of the Lord came to Elisha. And all the way through the prophets. Every prophet that has a name, a book named after them. The prophecy begins with the word of the Lord came to whatever their name is. So, the word of the Lord is the law. The word of the Lord is a prophetic message. Now, that's what people in the Bible thought of when they heard word. What do we think of when we hear the word? Well, if you're an English teacher, you may think of words. But in our common culture, you ever hear somebody say, what's the word? What's the news? What's going on? Or somebody says something and someone else responds with word, meaning you're speaking truth. These fit. message from God. Whether it's the law that was given by God, whether it's a prophetic message, it is a message from God. And what John is trying to get us to understand here is that Jesus is not just the messenger of the good news, the messenger from God. Jesus is the message. He's not just the one who brings the word. The word he brings is himself. He's not just the one who reveals the truth. He is the truth. He's not just the one who shows us the way to salvation. He is the way to salvation. There was a book I had to read in college called The Medium is the Message. Now, it's about advertising. I don't recommend it. But that sentence, the medium is the message, applies here. Christ is the way that we know the truth, and he is the truth itself. This is what John is getting at. Christ is the Word. He's the one who brings us salvation. He is salvation. Our closing hymn is 288, the rest of it.